Hello, welcome back to Zenith Unlocked Freedom from Addiction. We are already to session 3 of the 5th key on filling the void. And in this session, I want to offer you some advice on how to cope with difficulties or stress that you might experience that might lead you back into your addiction. First, do not hate yourself for this. Unfortunately, it happens. You are working against the current here, so there will be pushback within you. At times you might feel like you are falling, but keep going, stay strong. And I think that could be one of the main culprits of why people do fall back into their temptations is because they don't know how to correctly deal with their stress. The issue is not that you're bored, it's not that you're not strong enough. I think it's due to stress and you are struggling to cope and your addiction is still your favorite coping mechanism. And that is fine if you're still struggling. However, you're trying to figure out how to switch to a new coping mechanism. You still might not be used to it yet, and that is why you are truly feeling tempted. I never truly learned how to cope with difficulties growing up myself, so I quickly turned to drugs and alcohol as a solution to experiencing negativity in my life. After 16 years of sobriety, I am by no means perfect at handling my emotions, but I have still learned and matured quite a bit. I'm actually amazed by how far I've come, and as everyone discovers, no life is without difficulties. While the world will offer us some false solutions to our troubles like money, drugs, alcohol, or other sensual pleasures, all of these will fail to truly help us. That is not to say that some things like money and alcohol are bad in themselves. I'm only saying that an unchecked love of money and alcohol can cause much damage. Plus they, along with other unhealthy coping mechanisms, can cause more difficulties that one must cope with as well. Here are 3 ways to cope in a healthy, more productive manner to help with difficulties without causing more damage. We must remember that these coping mechanisms will not remove problems from our lives, but they will make us better at handling the challenges we face. Besides the activities and hobbies that we mentioned in this key, you can also use the following tips to cope with your difficulties and stress in your life. First, we have controlled breathing exercises. And I've actually heard about many people using controlled breathing to successfully calm themselves and cope with their stress. You can do this by simply sitting quietly somewhere and paying attention to your breathing as you take a deep breath in and exhale out. Give this exercise some time. A few minutes or longer should be okay. Even going for a bit more after you feel better might be a good idea to simply enjoy the relaxed feeling that comes with doing this exercise. Okay, next, manage your expectations. Another way to lessen the effects of stress is to take measures beforehand to ensure that you have realistic expectations about your life and what takes place within it. Otherwise, you might find your difficulties exacerbated and more stressful. This means that you should live in reality, expect difficulties to come, but also know that none are insurmountable. Always hope for the best, but we cannot expect life to be perfect. If we expect perfection and complete comfort on earth, we will find it more burdensome to deal with difficulties. To manage your expectations, take time to think more about your life. Give yourself time each day to think about what is taking place and what will most likely take place each day. If you have big choices to make, think about what might happen if you decide to take each option that lays before you. I know there is not a lot of time these days, but you can think when you drive, do your dishes, or maybe give it 15 minutes before you turn on Netflix at night. And finally, alleviate your difficulties with gratitude. This is by no means a cheap way of saying forget about your problems and look on the bright side. However, studies from more notable academic communities have shown that gratitude is associated with greater happiness. Essentially, if you are thinking about how good you have it, you tend to handle the difficulties in your life better. I could come out with a whole other course on how to be grateful, but to start, keep yourself from focusing on what you do not have. Instead, keep in mind on the aspects of your life that you are happy with. By shifting your focus to the good in your life, you will be happier with it. If this is hard for you at first, do not give up. So these are just 3 coping mechanisms that you can use to deal with your stress. However, I'm sure you can be creative in coming up with your own as well. You just want to make sure that the coping mechanism you choose is healthy, easy, realistic in terms of how much time you can dedicate to it, and actually brings you relaxation to deal with your stress. It should definitely not cause more stress. So if you find this happening, it is time to start looking for something else. Finally, this practice should be done in addition to whatever activity or hobby you've chosen to fill in the void. That needs to be different, as it is being used for more than just dealing with stress. That is meant to take over the time and energy that you used to use for your addiction.